Knows. Okay, how are we looking? I think I have all the town council here. Jay, how's the planning board look? Do we have, or Nick, how's the planning board look? Do we have everybody here?
No, I can't hear a thing.
I believe we're missing a member or two. I don't see Jen Ladd at this point.
And Robin.
Robin Saunders or Rick Duperry. So I understated. Guess we're missing three, but we do have we have a quorum.
That's
Great. Judy's here from the long range planning. So I would say Robin Saunders at this point is our only missing long range planning committee member. She serves as a liaison between the two boards.
Okay, so I think you guys okay, if without objection, I'll start 5 minutes late. So in 2 minutes from now, we'll get started, just to make sure, give everybody ample time.
I'm unmuted, am I not? This is Judy.
Yep, Judy, you're unmuted. Yep.
Yeah, well, I don't have my picture showing up.
How about that? I just asked you to start your video.
You asked me to start. Okay, all right. There.
There you are.
Thank you. And my volume, I couldn't adjust my volume either.
I can't help you with that one, I don't think, but
Okay.
we can hear you fine.
I can't hear hardly what people are saying.
That sounds like it might be the volume on your computer. Are you on your phone or your computer?
I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
It was okay, and then it went away.
All right, I'm gonna double check, see if Robin is in or Jen. They're not. Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. So welcome everybody. This is the Wednesday, October 7th.
I have no volume, Paul.
I'm not sure if you have no volume, it's going to be on your end. So I don't know if.
Judy, do you know how to control the volume on your phone? Do you have an iPhone?
Can't hear you, Jim.
Can't hear me.
She can't hear you. You got to put up a sign.
Jean Marie, can you help me? Or somebody?
You can't hear me.
Maybe
Oh,
someone
here it comes.
could use the chat function.
Yeah.
Oop.
That didn't.
I'm trying to send her an email as I don't have her cell phone number readily available. So
I can't hear anything. I think
I'll send her a chat too. Actually, I don't think we can chat 'cause it's a webinar. Can we chat here?
Just touch your screen.
All right, I'm gonna put Judy on mute while she figures it out, because whether she's on mute or not, she's trying to hear us, which is what's not working. So, okay, I'm gonna get started, I think, and then want Jay. Here, I'm gonna pin your video, Jay, so she can see it. There we go.
I'm waiting for a reaction.
Can you see one? I can't see it yet.
I have
I
not
can
seen
get them
one
to
yet.
hear me, but I can't hear them.
I don't think she's seen it yet.
No, hold on. I'll pin it again. Go ahead. Do it one more time.
And hopefully she can read it.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
All
you
right.
guys- all right. Good. All right. We're good. Okay.
I came from another century.
All right, so before we get started, I'm actually gonna, I think, let's have everybody's default to be on mute because there are 21 people on here. So if you don't have the floor, put your mic on mute just to make things, I think, a little simpler.
By doing,
With that, Tom, I'm gonna skip attendance. I don't think I don't need to take attendance here, Tom. I think you can. Oh. I'm gonna go with yes. Okay, hold on one second. Yep.
Paul,
Yes.
you want to help Judy with muting or just do it for her?
No, I'll mute for her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon, Paul. I think you're fine. I don't think you need formal attendance. I've got a record here, and we certainly have good video.
That's precisely what I thought. Good. Okay. With that, welcome everybody. This is the just to reiterate, let's reboot this. It's the Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 joint workshop between the Town Council, the Long Range Planning Committee, and the Planning Board. And this is essentially our kickoff to wrapping up the comprehensive plan. I think we still have a timeline in front of us, so to speak, but this is our circling back to the comprehensive plan that I think has been out there for a couple of years now. So with that, we have a pretty strict agenda as far as time is concerned. There are a ton of us in this meeting, so I think that myself, Chairman McGee, staff, and then we'll have some conversations amongst our boards, and then we'll have 30 minutes for open discussion. So first and foremost is going to be a presentation from staff and the Long Range Planning Committee, and that's going to be 20 minutes long. And Jay, I believe you want to share a video, is that correct?
Actually, I think
I'll be sharing.
Karen's going to do the technical aspect for staff, and really our video covers, I think, everything we need to say. And I know, you guys have council has a meeting at 7, so I don't want to belabor the points that will be in the video. So of course, we're going to be happy to answer things afterwards, but so I don't know if you're looking for a little bit more of an intro, I'm happy to do so, or if you're looking for the Long Range Planning Committee chair to sort of introduce what's happened. At your discretion.
If you're ready, Paul, you.
Yeah, Karen, I think the best is let's start with the video and then we'll take it from there. How's that sound?
Great.
Okay.
Welcome to an overview of the Scarborough Community's 2020 Comprehensive Plan. This plan is the culmination of input from community residents, town committees, and local organizations. It has also used data from local, state, and national sources to inform the process. The plan reflects the vision of Scarborough and presents a blueprint for a sustainable future that reflects the priorities and values of the community. My name is Dave Merrill. I'm the chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, or LRPC as it's fondly called. This is the committee charged by the council with bringing forward a document for adoption. We have solicited feedback from all the groups above and been at the hub of communications throughout this process. It has been our objective to hone down a vast amount of information down into a document that has something useful for every resident and perhaps opens some eyes to the complexities and interdependencies of the town. The presentation tonight will talk about the community vision reflected in the plan, review the public input process, describe plan strategies, and identify steps towards adoption. We look forward to tonight's discussion and ongoing community dialogue.
Hi, I'm Jay Chase. I'm the planning director here in Scarborough, and along with the voices of the Long Range Planning Committee members and Karen Martin, the director of the Economic and Development Corporation here in town, I'm pleased to present this plan to you this evening. With Dave's introduction, thank you, Dave, I just want to take a couple moments to speak about what the comprehensive plan is, and then we'll talk a little bit about how we arrived at the items that are in this plan. The plan starts with a vision from the community. We will talk in a moment about the public process that it went into developing this, so I'm not going to take time to do that here. But it is overall a visionary document that provides a blueprint for smart, sustainable evolution that reflects the priorities and values of Scarborough residents. The plan seeks to safeguard the town's history and sense of place by stimulating the conditions for short and long-term needs as identified through the planning process. In many ways, the 2020 Comprehensive Plan builds on the foundation of the 2006 Comprehensive Plan. It seeks to implement a vision that preserves the character of Scarborough while addressing targeted development in a way that provides for economic opportunities, protects the natural environment, and improves upon the high quality of life for all residents. In many ways, the 2006 Comprehensive Plan was a very prescriptive plan that described exact measures for the community to embrace in moving forward. The 2020 Comprehensive Plan has taken a different tact in really thinking about systems and seeks a more synergistic approach to the diverse range of activities that occur within the town between development, preservation of open space, traffic, housing choices, while thinking about the impacts on not only our residents, but on the municipal capacity to serve the future needs. The comprehensive plan touches on a diverse range of town activities and policies that are important for the community and future leaders and decision makers to consider in the context of the entire community. As the plan touches on such a wide-ranging activities and policies across the entire community, it's important to understand that not everything in this plan is intended to happen once or to happen quickly. This is a visionary document for the community to rely on and look to as we develop and implement future policies and regulations for the town.
Listening to the voices of Scarborough is one of the most important things that the comprehensive plan can do. In developing the plan, we invited the Scarborough community to talk about their town and their vision for the future. We employed traditional meetings, hands-on workshops, and new engagement techniques grounded in online technology. Before there was a single word written, the Long Range Planning Committee crafted a schedule of meetings to launch the project and to identify what people wanted for their community. First, the Long Range Planning Committee kicked the process off with a meeting at Town Hall with some 90 participants. This meeting was run by our consultants, who also scheduled one-on-one meetings with counselors and with Long Range Planning Committee members. We followed up this initial kickoff with a series of meetings that we called Imagine the Future. Attendees were asked to talk about what they love in Scarborough and what they don't love. They were asked to imagine the future 10 years from now. We brought the Imagine the Future meetings to different areas of the community, from Hagen's Beach and Pine Point to Oak Hill and North Scarborough. We also wanted to add the voices of various town committees to the mix. We really wanted to celebrate these passionate volunteers by checking in with them specifically on what they saw for the future of Scarborough. We also reached out to civic organizations like the Kiwanis Club or anybody who would have us on their schedule. And then we tried something different. In concert with our consultants, we held a week-long hands-on workshop in the offices above Scarborough grounds. Jay Chase and I spent the week, often until 9 or 10 at night, meeting in either groups of residents or one-on-one with citizens that came up to talk. We talked with kids and parents. We talked with people from all types of neighborhoods. We talked with business owners. We heard the story of Scarborough from different voices, different perspectives, and yes, sometimes different ideas. Again, in the spirit of trying new things, we did deploy an online engagement website called Scarborough Engaged. Here, people could make comments, see work in progress, and learn about the comprehensive plan. All of this led to the first draft of the plan developed by our consultants. When we received the first draft, the Long Range Planning Committee noted that while there is some great technical work done, the plan did not spend enough time telling the story of Scarborough that we heard in the meetings and the various other forms of input. The committee felt it was also time to check in on the policy direction of the plan. We used a survey published in the Leader and available online. Survey respondents could fill out the survey online, or they could cut out the survey from the Leader and drop it off at the library or town hall. The survey gave us more information on community preferences. Results confirmed that while there were many amenities that we'd like to see in town, fiscal sustainability must be considered in all aspects of the future. That principle tested the most important of the 9 principles listed in the first draft of the comprehensive plan based on the survey input. Along with the survey, staff in the Long Range Planning Committee hosted another series of public meetings in the neighborhood settings to hear comments on the first draft. The Long Range Committee reviewed comments and survey results, and then they instructed staff to prepare a series of edits and redrafts to give back to the consultants. We also found that there were some universal themes, no matter what the format of the input. This final draft.
Hello, I'm Robin Saunders. I live in the Pleasant Hill neighborhood. I'm a member of the Long Range Planning Committee and liaison to the Planning Board, where I've served for 5 years. I'm pleased to introduce you to the first of our 5 visions in the town of Scarborough's comprehensive plan. Vision 1, the marsh is central to our identity, and therefore future land use will follow a pattern of development that is sensitive to protecting the marsh as well as the town's natural resources. Under this vision, the plan identifies strategies such as future land use map, balancing growth, and the natural environments, sustainability, conservation, stormwater management, sea level rise, vulnerabilities, and I'm quite pleased to see that stewardship is near the top of the list of guiding principles for our comprehensive plan.
Hi, my name is Corey Fellows. My wife and I live in the Pine Point area, and we have 3 boys, all of whom attend Scarborough High. I formerly served on the planning board, including several years as board chair. During that time, I've seen Scarborough go through multiple economic ups and downs along with the region and nation, but it has continued an overall trajectory of controlled development and growth. Effective land use planning requires more than just making zoning designations or painting different colors on a map. Our land use vision should be a dynamic reflection of our community's values and aspirations. Future land use patterns will create opportunities for the efficient delivery of municipal services and infrastructure, resulting in fiscal sustainability. Under this vision, the comprehensive plan identifies strategies that consider the long-term financial stability of the town, infrastructure investments, and resiliency, all while maintaining balanced budgets, strategic partnerships, public safety services, recycling, a community center, broadband, public school facilities, and the library.
Good evening. My name is Rick Cheney, and I'm a member of the Long Range Planning Committee. I also currently serve on the board of directors of the Scarborough Economic Development Corporation and am president of the Scarborough Land Trust. Previously, I served on the planning board, as well as a number of committees in town, including the Growth and Services Committee and the Open Space Committee. Lastly, in 2006, I chaired the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee that drafted the current comprehensive plan. I've been a resident of Scarborough since 1994, and I live with my wife in a development off the Black Point Road known as Prout's Landing. Tonight, I'd like to introduce to you Vision 3 of the 2020 Draft Comprehensive Plan. Vision 3 anticipates that our ordinances will support the diversity and character of existing and emerging neighborhoods, centers, and open spaces in town. Under this vision, we look at the need for a simplified zoning ordinance, home affordability and availability, opportunities for active living, and the development of community and community identity. We look forward tonight to a more detailed discussion of Vision 3, as well as the other aspects of the comprehensive plan, and ultimately look forward to the council's adoption of the plan. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Dave Merrill, a member of the Long Range Planning Committee. I've lived in the Windward Heights neighborhood of Scarborough for almost 20 years and worked in the design and construction industry for almost 30. I got involved during the previous 2006 comprehensive plan as a committee member and have participated on many of the subsequent committees formed to implement and study planning initiatives in the town. I want to introduce you to Vision 4 of the plan's 5 visions. Vision 4 states, Scarborough's economy will support a broad assortment of companies that will provide stability to the tax base, that blend with and protect the natural resource base, and that support opportunities for its residents. Under this vision, we look at the components of a healthy and sustainable local economy, such as entrepreneurship, branding, communication, infrastructure, information, working with our natural resource-based organizations and labor force. This vision was culled from comments and feedback received during the initial outreach done at the beginning of our process. It signals one of the common themes brought forward in the 5 visions and is intended to provoke thought, discussion, and study in the years to come as we shape the evolution of Scarborough. It is our hope that future groups will take this vision and formulate creative, sound ideas to promote a well-balanced and healthy economy for our town. I thank you for your time and continued thoughtful input.
Hello, my name is Judy Roy, and I've lived in Scarborough for 68 years and currently live over in the Green Acres area. I've been involved in the town since '99, serving on the council for 15 years in that period of time, from then until November of '05. And I'm pleased to serve on the Long Range Planning Committee. And my focus would be to introduce vision number 5. Vision 5, Scarborough's transportation network will support current and future land uses that create efficiencies, which reduce the impact of traffic on residents and businesses. Under this vision, we look at the impact of traffic on residents, walkability, improving connectivity, transit opportunities, complete streets, and street acceptance standards in the changing technology in traffic management.
Hello, my name is Alan Paul, and I'm a former member of the Planning Board and currently serve as a member on the Long Range Planning Committee and on the Board of Directors for the Scarborough Economic Development Corporation. I live off Black Point Road in Prouts Landing along with my wife, and we have lived at that residence for 25 years. In addition to the plan vision, this plan contains a conservation and growth map. The conservation and growth map sets up the framework for a general pattern of development and land use by setting forth strategies such as outlying areas west of the turnpike should retain their rural character and protect open spaces. Natural areas, agriculture, land, and open space should be protected and connected wherever feasible. Public water and sewer infrastructure should be encouraged within designated growth areas. A majority of new residential and commercial development should be located in the growth areas. The identity of established neighborhoods should be enhanced, and new development should complement the existing scale and design. Businesses are an essential part of the community and will continue to contribute a significant portion of local taxes. Future zoning and land use regulations will adapt as necessary to implement the visions and strategies of the plan.
I like it. The Conservation and Growth Map is the articulation of many of the strategies that are laid out in the plan and many that we have just heard from Alan. Through the public planning sessions, we heard support from the community regarding the concept of a conservation and growth approach that focuses on conserving land first and designating focused areas where development and redevelopment should occur. By allowing for more intense development in areas specifically chosen by the community for future growth and limiting development elsewhere, Scarborough can reap environmental and economic benefits and steward its natural resources and protect the character of the existing neighborhoods in the community. By organizing the town according to conservation and growth areas, intentional and informed decisions can be made about how to most effectively spend municipal dollars on infrastructure improvement consistent with the plan. The Conservation and Growth Map is organized around different growth sectors that set out conservation priorities and inform the intensity and character of new development. The boundaries of these sectors are imperfect and intended to reflect a general pattern of desired future growth. The conservation open space sector is an area that is protected from development in perpetuity, either through environmental protection laws or regulations, as well as land acquired for conservation through the purchases of easement or outright purchase of the land. These also include our surface water bodies, such as the marsh and streams, and other riparian corridors and wildlife areas. The conservation and open space sector amounts to 24% of the total area of the town. The rural residential sector remains a rural area with limited development. The remaining agricultural land is preserved in cooperation with landowners, and opportunities for connecting natural areas and open spaces are explored, including a greenway along the Nonsuch River. Future residential development that does occur is intended to be at low density and designed to maintain the rural character of the area and provide buffers along significant natural resources. The rural residential sector of the plan equates to 48% of the town's area. The low to moderate density residential sector encompasses a number of our residential neighborhoods. The character and identity of these various neighborhoods is to be maintained, and infill is to be a scale and character that is compatible with the existing development. The availability and quality of the public infrastructure, including green spaces, are upgraded as a result of development and implementation of neighborhood plans. Low to moderate density residential sector comprises 15% of the town's land area. Low to moderate density non-residential growth sector is an area that is mostly developed in commercial and industrial suburban patterns, but still contains some underutilized parcels and redevelopment opportunities. These are areas that were developed in conventional auto-oriented suburban pattern and are not expected to change much except for incremental improvements to businesses as they come and go. New development and redevelopment should be encouraged to articulate some of the goals of the community with respect to infrastructure improvements. The low to moderate density non-residential areas comprise 13% of our land area. As previously mentioned, 87% of the area is really identified for very minimal changes to the overall characteristic and design of the town. The main focus of the growth and discussion of this comprehensive plan are really around 9% of the area that are encompassed by these activity centers. While the plan focuses much of the verbiage and language around these limited land areas, these are the areas that have the greatest challenges and opportunities for focusing the future growth so we can preserve those characteristics, and natural areas that the community has identified they so value. The focus of the growth areas are really around activity centers, such as the Regional Activity Center, which you can see in the middle of the map, which is around the Scarborough Downs and Higas Parkway area, as well as the Community Activity Centers, which encompass Oak Hill and Dunstan. The Regional Activity Center has been identified potential development for tremendous opportunity to create an authentic and complete town center within Scarborough and have a regional draw. This would consist of a mix of uses and walkable area where people can live, shop, work. This would be the most intensely developed area of the town. It includes Scarborough Downs property as well as parcels generally within a mile radius, including the Higas Parkway. The other identified areas are called community activity centers, and these are the Oak Hill area and Dunstan neighborhoods, as I mentioned. These are largely built out areas, but still have many vacant or underutilized land areas with opportunities for redevelopment within those communities. Additional growth and development in the areas is desirable due to the presence of existing infrastructure and services, and the plan envisions that most residential and non-residential development over the next 10 years will occur either in the Regional Activity Center or the Community Activity Centers. The plan also describes an area called the Corridor Transformation Sector. This really runs along the Route 1 corridor between Dunstan and Oak Hill, and really envisions the area to evolve as a mixed-use commercial district, connecting the two activity centers. However, the Route 1 corridor warrants some additional attention for access management and traffic calming, with a progressive transformation of development patterns to increase the amenities in the area. Development patterns should consider orientation around reliable and regular transit as more viable densities in the activity centers increase. The remaining sector I haven't mentioned are our village growth sectors, which are some of the town's original village areas that already provide some moderate level of services to the neighborhoods which surround them. These include the North Scarborough area, areas around Eight Corners, Black Point neighborhood, the Higgins Beach neighborhood, and the Pine Point Beach neighborhood. While each village has its own characteristics and intensities of residential and non-residential uses, in the future, such services will be maintained at a level consistent with the overall pattern of development within each village. I'll now touch on the comprehensive plan review process, ongoing public outreach, and council adoption process. In early March, the Long Range Planning Committee, having received much public comment and discussion on the draft plan, moved the plan out of committee and to council for consideration. This was right before the pandemic took hold and all our lives were turned upside down. The plan was put out on the website and notified that it was available. However, there has not been an opportunity for public engagement. Tonight was the start of that discussion, and we look forward to further discussions with the public. To that end, with this being the reintroduction of the comprehensive plan, the Long Range Planning Committee intends to hold a series of 3 more public meetings to discuss the various aspects and elements of the comprehensive plan, As expected, these meetings will happen in late October and through the month of November, not to coincide with the holidays, of course. Following those public outreach meetings, the Long Range Plan Committee will make final consideration of comments received through tonight and those meetings, culminating in a final recommendation to Town Council. As laid out in the timeline that's been prepared and presented to the Council, the expectation is that Town Council and Planning Board will conduct a public hearing in December or January, following which the Town Council will take final action on the comprehensive plan anticipated in January 2021.
We hope the community recognizes this plan as a visionary document. There's work to do once the plan is adopted, but now we have a vision.
So I think I'll just chime in, and that's the end of our presentation, at least that portion of it anyway. As I said, we're Long Range Planning Committee has been working on this for quite some time, and staff and the Long Range Planning Committee are here to listen and answer questions as we go. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in, or I'll turn it to you, Mr. Johnson, and see where you want to go with it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. So the next thing on the agenda is some planning board comments, and I'm going to toss it over to Nick. But before I do that, are there any questions for Jay or any of the Long Range Planning Committee for the presentation that we just saw, as far as any clarifying questions? Or Councilor Gleisten?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's kind of specific as we start to get in the plan, so maybe it's not appropriate now. So I just kind of wanted to know what kind of questions you wanted now.
Yeah, I think we're not going to dig into the plan just now, right? I think we'll save that for the last 30 minutes because we have 30 minutes of discussion. So yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, with that, I think if there's no comments from Long Range Planning, Nick, I'm going to hand this over to you for 20 minutes, and I have to go off camera for about 5. So I'm going to hand it to you, and I'll be back. So.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have 4 quick points before I ask the members of our planning board here to quickly weigh in. But the first thing I want to mention was a huge thank you to all the people that have worked on this. You know that there's an incredible amount of time and effort that has gone in between SEDCO, the staff, Long Range Planning Committee. I mean, just the community outreach alone, and then filtering through that information is quite an undertaking. So certainly can appreciate it. I know you've been working at this for years, really. So the second thing I wanted to just bring up was just to stress the importance of this document to this town. I think everyone here knows it. I just want to make sure that everyone in the community realizes it. You would love to see higher participation rates, but you know, as we engage in this process, it's not just the next 10 years when this will come up and we'll be looking at what it did and what it didn't do. That making this plan and the vision we outlay now actually affect us for decades to come. So just keeping that out there, that this is such especially at this juncture in our town, I think we're firing on all cylinders, and we got to be that the decisions we make here now, we understand the impacts 50 years from now. The third point I would want to make is that this, I understand the desire to have this process move forward in an orderly and I know there's been a lot of time already invested. I just want to make sure that we don't rush this process because of the important decisions that need to be made. And again, not discounting, I've already gone into it, but I just hate to see this rushed. And the fourth point is that I think as we move forward in this process, and I think that we all need to keep in mind that we're going to have a 170-page document. It clearly outlines a lot of visions for this area or that area. Maybe I live in this part of town or I don't live in that. I think we just need to keep in mind that we're going to have disagreements. What will be telling us how we work together, and not only that, how we get past them together, and then make sure that we know that we can rely on each other in this process as we go forward, because it's never so. those are my just very general comments. I will turn it over to the rest of my planning board for any other comments. I do have a question about process. Maybe I'll ask that before I turn it over. The one thing that I would just ask about the process is, I saw that it was outlined that we'd have a couple meetings, and it would go through a couple joint workshops and then through council. And then the long range planning committee gets another shot at making changes. Is there going to be a cycle of either public input or meetings that follow any changes to the document after long range planning committee gets it? That would be just a follow-up question. Doesn't have to be answered at this moment, just to keep in mind that once you go through all that process, ask for all the input, and then it gets changed. I just want to make sure that we don't miss another opportunity to comment on the changes that are made. So that would be it. As vice chair, would Ms. Hendrickson like to go next?
When have I not wanted to do that? Some observations about the plan as it's presented. The first observation is that the land use that's proposed seems to be comporting with what we're seeing coming to the planning board in terms of smaller lots, a little bit of infill, an emphasis on mixed use, an emphasis on a commercial development that provides a different sort of sustainability of the tax base. So I think the comp plan really captures both what we're currently seeing and looks towards the future. I would say an area that needs to be taken a little more of a look at might be the concept of the infill. Where specifically are there areas where a house can go here, a duplex can go there, that we can look at some affordable housing without opening up new lots, without opening up new developments. Those areas, the infill areas, really are prime areas for development. So I would suggest a look there. I think the transportation is, as you're presenting it, is extremely important. We are seeing, in the past, we have seen a fair number of developments, conservation developments, and on one hand, they're seeking to maintain all of the open space they can with the smaller lots, but that means a lot of dead-end streets. And I don't know how that's taken care of. I don't know how you can address that, but I do think that these dead-end areas, and that's a fair amount of what's coming before us, really does put a crimp into transportation and the connectedness of transportation. I think what I am seeing, what I think needs to happen is the town council, the boards, SEDCO, publicity really does need to emphasize to the residents of Scarborough that we're going to maintain what makes Scarborough great and the reason that that people moved here or live here. But at the same time, in order for other people to enjoy the same things that we do, we're going to have to look at more density. We're going to have to look at the smaller lots. We're going to have to look at some smaller houses and a mix of housing that will take people from their very first starter homes all the way to their retirement apartments. And for some people, when you talk about density, they immediately think about Portland and houses right next to each other and 3 stories high. And that's not what we're looking at when we talk about density. And I think that's something that needs to be very clear to the folks in Scarborough, that we're striving to maintain the character and to allow the building of houses that are affordable for all levels of people in Scarborough. And that a lot of that really is a PR campaign to present Scarborough as welcoming to all people, all populations, all ages, families, singles, retirees, and that we have something there for all of those people. I like the plan. I like the direction it's going in. I think in terms, again, of publicity, showing the folks in Scarborough that I think you said 24% of the land is going to be, 24% is the marsh and open land, and another 20-some percent really is going to be maintained as farming and as open space. That's something that's important. The more people see that they have that opportunity to maintain those amenities, the more welcoming they're going to be to the implementation of the plan. Thank you.
Roger, do you want to go next?
First, I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved in this process. It's been very long, and I think one of the challenges at this point in time will be re-engaging the whole community, regarding this whole process. I think many people have basically forgotten about it, so it's going to be important to get them re-engaged, and so they know what's going on. I don't want to get into too many details at this point, but I will just mention a few things. I think one of our bigger challenges is Route 1, both the configuration and controlling the traffic, and it's a challenge. The planning board currently has 2 projects before it, right on Route 1 up by Oak Hill. They present challenges because of the configuration of the road right there and the neighborhood. And we've seen it up and down Route 1. And I think it's imperative, both from an economic point of view, because it's challenging for businesses. I mean, if we want to grow businesses along that route, that corridor, it's got to make sense for them in terms of being viable for them to get their customers into their buildings. The other point I'd make is not on Route 1, but I'm very pleased with the recent diversity in the housing stock that we've seen in town. 25 years ago, it was almost primarily all single family homes. So, and it was pointed out in the Growth and Services report that we needed to have more multi-family type structures, more diversity in housing. So I'm pleased to see that's something that's happened since the last comprehensive plan. And I'm glad to see the continued diversity of the commercial base. I mean, it's great to have a WEX, but it's sometimes it's even better to have a lot of smaller businesses in town, because they tend to be much more engaged in the community. So that's all I'll say at this point.
Thank you, Roger. What else do we have on from Planning Board? Rick Meinking.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I've been involved in reading a lot of this over time. I'm glad to see it's come full circle now and is back in discussions. I think the only point I'd like to make at this point is that as we continue to refine this or define it a little bit more, clarity and refine it, I think it's important if we make sure we're not in a silo. And when I say that, I mean a silo of Scarborough and the greater Maine. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the Maine Climate Council that was enacted from the legislature that established a council to look at various aspects. And this plan that has been drafted here has all the major components of what this climate council has undertaken, whether it's the transportation working group, the building infrastructure, housing working group, even the coastal and marine working group. And they have come up with sets of recommendations and will be reported out to the governor in the 1st of December. that is the required report time. And within all of these things are actionable steps to take. And I think we, Scarborough, should make sure that we have a pulse on those because it can help refine and put clarity to some of the ordinances that we have currently and how we can reconfigure or rewrite some of the ordinances that will be consistent to what this new comprehensive plan is saying. And so I think at this point, because of the time, I'll just leave it that my hope is that we don't look at Scarborough in just one silo. Yes, we have to take care of our community and those that are involved, but we also are part of a great state and we have to be part of that equation as well. And as we start pulling out the stretch codes for buildings and energy codes, all of these things are going to be refining our ordinances and our plans as we move forward. So I appreciate all the work that's gone in. I know Jay and his team have been busy. We've seen this in the sustainability committee. We've made some recommendations. And I just think this is all moving in the right step for Scarborough. And I'm proud and delighted to be part of the solution to our town. And I think we can do some pretty good things. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman Nick.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. With that, I'll turn it back to Chairman Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you for those. I think I'll start with just responding to Chairman McGee's comments. Absolutely, I think that's a great idea to have a final round of input, so to speak. So I think the timeline is, it's broad right now, and I think one of my objectives leaving tonight is to fill in a few more of those details. So I think so to your question, and I would say absolutely. When we start refining that timeline, let's put in a couple more community input meetings after it gets to long range planning for the second time, so to speak. So yep, you have my word that I'll work those in, and we'll just figure out what that looks like. And I think right now the timeline that I have brought to the council was, I think we're ending sometime roughly in February. And if that happens to be March because we need some more input or we feel like it needs to marinate some more, I don't think any of us will object on the council. So I think we've done the right thing by picking this up again and start moving it forward. And that doesn't mean we have to rush it through, right? We can work it from here on out. So those are my only my comments. So I will go just around the table, the people I see first. So Mr. Hamill, you're right next to me. So I'm going to go with you. And then Councilor Clucci, you are under him.
Great. Thanks. Thanks everyone for the input and for the update on this important work. So I think directionally it sounds like it's moving correctly. The only comments I would have to do with the executability, of the plan. I know we've been dogged with repeated comparisons of this update with the original work that was done. It was in 2006, and I think
Don, do you want to try to turn your video off? Because you're
here tonight have probably participated as we can remember that. So people are very proud of that, and that was a much different document in terms of the size and scale and comprehensiveness and so forth. So, my concern is just to make sure that we, in our process, will have a way to validate. Yep. Yeah, sure. I just want to make sure that we find a way to validate this work the work and the 140-page plan, because I know the time that's lapsed, a lot of things have changed, a lot of the data has changed. Is there going to be a way for us to validate that and make sure that the public will help us validate and verify that? But I think directionally and according to the high level themes that were shared in the video, it all sounds right. And I think we've got some wins on the board in terms of the development that's been done. But I just want to make sure that we have a way to do that and to make sure that we're taking the time necessary to ensure that it is on target directionally, strategically, but also executable and something that will be defensible should we get challenges.
Don, thank you. Don, I don't know if you have two Wi-Fi networks in your house, you might want to try to switch to the 2G one. You're breaking up a lot, so I just want to make sure. I can circle back to you at the end too.
So I don't know if I'm still on or not.
Yeah, you are. It's just you're breaking up a ton. So I guess what I'll say is I'll loop back after everybody else's comments if you want to clarify. That's all. So if you want to kind of.
Sorry.
Okay.
Councilor
Clucci.
Yeah, great work by everybody so far pulling this together. I know it's been a long haul, and staff's really contributed a lot and carried a lot of the load after the initial push to put together the initial documents. I think what I was able to pick up from Councilor Hamill, I concur with, and that's we don't need to rush this to the finish line. I think there's, it's part of our job or responsibility to make sure that it is a representative document for Scarborough's vision or of our community. And I was interested to hear that, long range planning has some community outreach sessions planned. I think that's a great idea. I'd like to learn a little more about them. Do you have a plan for them yet in terms of you're going to focus on certain topics or geographic areas? If you do know, I would be interested in that. And other than that, I think when it comes back to council, the document that's been anointed by long range planning, I think we need to think about what process do we want to go through? Is it just a single public hearing or is there additional outreach before we take our vote? And we've got some time before we need to kind of work through those details. But I think the vision is solid. There's some details probably that still need to be ironed out. There's a lot of really great work that went into this document. As general as it is, there's some really specific maps and data and pictures that I kind of, I love that kind of stuff. And I think it's really helpful to kind of, especially when they start talking about dead end streets and stuff, I think there's a section in this for everyone, I guess. I'd encourage the public to read it and to reach out to us with your thoughts and comments. And I think that's a good part, a big part of what we'll do to bring this to the finish line. So thank you everybody for your work.
Thanks, John. And just what I heard as an open question that we can explore afterwards or later is what do the long range planning committee outreach? What does that look like, right? Is it by geography? What are the dates? We have to flush that out. So good. Councilor Hayes, you are up next to John, in my view. So.
Yeah, it's like Hollywood Squares. I'm not anywhere near John on my.
Well, and YouTube has a whole different order as well, so that doesn't work. So.
No, I'll echo sort of all the comments. I mean, this has been a long work in progress. There's been a lot of effort and good thought that's gone into it. I think for me, generally it's in the right direction. The devil's always in the details. And I, kind of picking up on some of the themes that I think I've heard some of the planning committees talk about. One is, I really like we have in the vision or the goals, the piece about sustainability. I'd love to spend a little bit more time understanding that. And I think it's not only sustainability from a financial point of view, but it's also sustainability from a lifestyle point of view. It's all the things that you heard were important to people in Scarborough, which are the green spaces and outdoor spaces. So really interested to see how that plays out. Two, it's been sort of, a place where I am, and I think I heard it echoed twice. But I'm really concerned as we think about this and we look forward, I think we do need to spend a lot more time thinking about traffic flows, and how that's happening. I think we mentioned the dead end sort of streets. We mentioned Route 1, but we certainly are going to have major issues at Oak Hill, sort of Dunstan's Corner and Higgis Parkway. So as this rolls through, I hope some of those things are kind of talked about and looked at. And then lastly, I think it's the Holy Grail. I think everybody's talked about. I think this has been so long in process that just a lot of people have lost touch with it. I think the real challenge is, and I was glad to hear, but thinking out of the box, how we can get a lot of public input into this as it's rolled out, and then also as changes are worked. And I think it was a reference that there may be some people that are happy, there may be some people that are unhappy, and I just hope we have a process that all those voices have a seat at the table to kind of speak up. So those are sort of just my thoughts, but I think it's great work and sort of on board, but those are just three sort of areas that are of interest, at least to me, and I think maybe some others.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Gleistein, you are up next.
Well, it's always good to remind me not to dig into the details, but I did have, and I don't know if this is the right place for a question, but I'll put it out there, and then as the process goes forward, I think one thing that people in Maine and in Scarborough take for granted is access to natural resources. We talk a lot about preservation. We talk a lot about conservation. These are all great things, and we definitely want these in our town. But with growth, and that's, of course, an issue in itself, how much do we want to grow? I think it was Rachel that said everyone should be able to enjoy what we should join, but at some point, there is a limit to how much growth you can sustain in a town. But obviously there's been growth and there will be growth. And that's what this plan is all about, how to make that growth happen. So that's why the plan is so important. But I just want to make sure that people have first on their mind, or at least with an even priority, of access to natural resources. If you go to other parts of the country, beautiful parts of the country where growth has been extensive, I think what you will find is very limited access for large numbers of people to actually access beaches, trails, things like that. And I think that is a core value for us. At least I hope it is. And I hope that people keep that foremost in mind. If we're going to have growth, then, we're going to need another, perhaps another parking lot over here, or we might need to buy some property so that there's more access for people to get here, or we might need to open a bike trail so that people could get to this place. So I hope really folks think about that. And then a core value, I think too, that I didn't hear in the vision, that certainly doesn't mean it's not encompassed in here. But I do think, there needs to be some thought to, protecting people's property and protecting their property value. I think that's an ethos that we all believe in. But if your core use, if where you purchased, where you set up your home, if that core use just changes 100%, there's real danger, I think, in people living expecting something and getting something else. So that's just something that I hope we keep in mind as we go forward. I don't know why, but we've come upon a time where maybe people, don't like to think about property values as much. Maybe it seems unseemly, but it is crucially important to all of us. And a lot of people plan on retiring on, their value, or passing it on to their family, or living off of it with a reverse mortgage or something like that. And I think, part of what we want to do is make sure we balance so that we do get growth the way that we want. We do plan the way that we want, but we also protect people's property values and protect access to natural resources.
On mute. Thanks, Councilor Gleistein. Councilor Caterina, you are next.
Yeah, thank you. I've been involved with this for a while now, having been the representative of the Long Range Planning Committee. So I do want to thank staff and Long Range Planning for all the work that they've done with this. And I don't have much more to add other than to remind people that the comprehensive plan is like the blueprint or the map. And the old saw is, unless you set a destination or a goal, you're likely to end up anywhere. So these are our goals and visions, so to speak, for the town and where we may like to be, not just in 10 years, but as Mr. McGee mentioned, 50 years down the line. I mean, these have long-term consequences. So, I'm interested in making sure we have a good process. I don't want to see it rushed. Maine state statute does require that we do this. I know a lot of people are hot to make some changes to the growth management ordinance, and we can do some tweaks to growth management ordinance, but we really can't do anything major with it until we get this in place because of the way the statute is written with growth management and its relationship to the comprehensive plan. So I don't want to rush it, but I also want to make sure, we aren't dragging it out again forever. That doesn't need to happen. I can assure you that Long Range Planning Committee, we had long discussions about making sure we have public feedback again and getting people re-involved. When I look at the timeline of late October, early November, part of me, a little red flag went up going, people are just are burnt out on election stuff and COVID and whatnot. Not that COVID needs to be the excuse all the time, but maybe we might want to look at that again and look at when's the best time to engage the public. So yeah, thank you to everyone. And I think all the comments here were valuable, and let's move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean Marie. Councillor Johnson?
Ditto's on the thank you. I have my own personal hard copy of the comprehensive plan and a yellow pen. Oh, you've got one too. Great. Yeah, I only want to reiterate a couple things. Hopefully that we do let the process drive the delivery date and not the other way around. That's been stated several times. I'm in software. We rolled out, major software projects, and we're always tied to an end date. And every time without fail, what we deliver is deficient because we're driving to an end date instead of letting the process drive the date. So that's just one point. And I was wondering if this was the forum just to discuss what is the process for change? Let me give you an example. I have some ideas for change. Where do I go with them? Because that's actually what I thought I didn't know if we were going to delve into that level of detail. No specific changes, just what is the process for change?
Yeah, I think, do you want to answer that now? Do you have, we can answer that now, I assume. Jay, do you want to chime in on that? As far as my guess is, it's just a matter of within that time frame, which I think Jean Marie has astutely pointed out, maybe a little ambitious, but the opinion gathering phase, and then it's back to long range planning to do edits, correct?
Yep, I think that's correct. So again, so one of the things that the Long Range Planning Committee has talked about, we're actually going to reconvene on October 16th, so we can really hear what the interests of council and planning board are, so we can help refine what our next steps are. But again, as already has been said, we so far envision 3 more meetings. Obviously, given the time frame we're talking about, probably going to be Zoom virtual meetings. And really, at that point, trying to break down different parts of the plan rather than, tonight Karen and I shot for about a 15-minute presentation, and good luck boiling 170 pages any further down than we did, quite frankly. And so, and we feel that, I guess maybe it's a question to you all, but I think our feeling is, a presentation much longer than that on Zoom can probably be a little bit brutal. But our thought also is, what's nice about doing these on Zoom are a couple of things. One, we can obviously put these meetings right up, but we can also cut the meetings so we can really take the presentations out. And so people can really just, if they want to, just sort of go through the presentations. And then of course they can see the whole meeting and the discussion. But so I think that's one of the nice features or benefits. We're always looking for the silver linings with what we're doing. I think the other thing we've talked about is this will enable one of the things, and I know council, you hear this as well, I'm sure, is it's always about, not always, but often we hear about summertime residents or those who, have properties and they're here in the summer. When's the best time to engage them? And there never seems, at least for the time I've been here, hasn't been a great answer to that because, folks say, well, when I'm only here for these 2 weeks, or I'm only here for those 2 weeks, or what have you. So I think, again, Zoom enables us to reach across, property owners who may spend some time in Florida, say, during the winter time. Not sure who might be doing that this year. Maine seems like a good place to be to me, but that's a different discussion. So Ken, I think I'm getting off track a little bit to answer your question. I think, part of it is about these upcoming 3 meetings. I think part of it is about one of the things, we have the still, in my eyes, a relatively new website that I see, I've been sort of looking at that really want to dress some things up in there to make it easier for folks to send responses in that can, come to staff and then be shared with the Long Range Planning Committee and forwarded ultimately to the council. So I think for the general public, it's going to be, there'll be hopefully a bunch of opportunities through those Long Range Planning Committee meetings, through email, and then obviously whatever process council comes up with. At this point, minimally we have sort of targeted at least one public hearing with planning board and town council, that's the state statute sort of minimal requirement. That's the process that the 06 plan went through. Does not mean that's the process this plan needs to go through. Staff recognizes that and looks forward to hearing what council's interest will be once it does get delivered out of Long Rangers in the next few months.
And there's really no reason in conjunction with those 3 public meetings that we as a body can't have a workshop and compile our own thoughts. I mean, so that's I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing for us to do, and then to submit that to the Long Range Planning, and they can weigh our thoughts alongside the input they're getting from their public outreach meetings.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Is it always all 3 bodies together, or can we separate again for efficiency purposes? So that's what I was looking for.
Let's say that we'll have a workshop during the information gathering period. And that we'll submit the results to Long Range Planning. So.
And I'm sure Tom will speak to this, but we do have a new community engagement resource that is signed on. So that might help us, regenerate the interest and the outreach to the public. It could be a great opportunity for that. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. With that, I'm going to we start at 7. I feel like I'm going to just go to the public real quick, I think, before we wrap it up, if that's okay with everybody. I'm assuming it is. Is there anybody, there's 3 people in the public. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Allison, I will pull you right in here. You should be good, Allison, if you're ready. Allison, can you hear me? Nothing. She's not on mute, so.
Chairman Johnson, I will say while we try to work out that, maybe this will just buy a moment for that to get figured out, is I know I did receive an email from Miss Bristol earlier in the afternoon. I'm not sure who else that went to. I haven't had an opportunity to open it, but certainly it references the comp plan. And so those comments have been received. And again, there will be additional opportunities for discussion. I know Allison's been on a number of other meetings and has generally figured this out, so must be some type of technical glitch tonight.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we've all received it. So I know I read it personally. So yeah, I think we have it all. So I'll keep her in just for a second, just in case. With that, is there any Allison? No, I hear background noise. So okay. Any final comments before we adjourn and take a brief recess before the regular town council meeting? No? Okay, I guess what I'm hearing is we need to iron out some of the dates, consider extending some of the immediate dates. And then the town council would like a vehicle to submit our thoughts to long range planning before, let's call it the first edit, for lack of better terms. Is everybody kind of sitting around agreeing with my takeaway on that? Okay, Tom, Dawn, and I are meeting. We didn't meet this week. We skipped this week simply because we have a long night tonight. Tom, Dawn, and I are meeting next Wednesday, and I'll put that at the top of our leadership agenda and hopefully report out to you guys and the public on some of our ideas. Good. Long range planners, staff, planning board, thank you guys. We really appreciate all your work that you've done in this. I think we're off to a very good place and a good start, and hopefully we can not rush this, but make it come to an end sometime in the future. So thank you, everybody. If you are a town councilor, you need to go to a different link. Unfortunately, I created 2 different links today. I think it's actually going to be better for public consumption because it'll be 2 different YouTube videos. So if you guys can just close up and join the other one, and I'll promote you to panelist, if that made sense. So if you just go to the website and look at the agenda for the regular town council and just enter that one. I'll start it right now. So thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.